as the generations go on, there's still things that are evolving. There's still things that are changing. Nothing is set in stone. You meet a person with autism, you meet a person with autism, even if it is profound autism. The same modalities aren't going to work in every profoundly autistic individual. So you still have to treat it as an individual. The same thing with all the medical complexities with it or behaviors that show up.
Welcome back to Finding Common Ground with Heather and Steve. Today we have Jillian, a mom, a warrior, and you might know her online from Bobby's World. Steve, you met her first. Do you want to give the audience a little idea of how you guys connected?
Yeah, in today's world, we all, I think, wind up meeting each other for the first time socially online. And Jillian has been out there. She's a member of NIAD and SEPSTA, both things that I'm involved in too. And I think we've just started corresponding back, posting and messaging, Jillian, if I recall. And I've had the opportunity to talk to you several times and then your husband a couple times. So it's been a pleasure knowing you and to see how far you've come, because I remember you in the beginning and I remember you now, and you're quite the advocate now. So total respect.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it's not too far along. It's really just been almost a year.
Right.
Wow.
Almost a year. Yeah. And it's come a long way.
I think that once you start speaking your reality out loud, it's going to draw some people in, that maybe are going through something similar. But sometimes it just draws the person in and they say, wow, I didn't even know that was going on. Like I have reels that show up on my feed that I'm like, why am I watching this? And then I have to watch 20 of them because they're all on that topic, right? But when something like this hits your screen and you start to listen to somebody really tell you what it's like to live in a home with somebody who has autism, and not the, Sheldon Big Bang autism, another version of it that takes a lot more support. Not everybody understands that reality. Steve and I obviously do. But let's start with what the diagnosis does to families a little bit, because you said Bob was 1 when he got diagnosed. I think Devin she started early intervention at 8 months old. She had her first diagnosis, I think they said autism first, and that was at 17 months old. And it's just like this, you get hammered with all these different labels and classifications, and people are coming into your home. And it can be easy to really get lost in that and to start only hearing the things that they can't do or they won't do. How did you mediate that? How did you live through that and come out feeling empowered?
Well, if you want to know the absolute truth, I barely survived it. I was in the deepest, darkest places imaginable. And I'm very honest, I was suicidal. I had imagined driving off a cliff with my son in the car because I was in despair. We didn't have the supports in place. I had no village. I had moved up to the Hudson Valley with my husband. He's from here, but I had no friends. All my friends were down in the city. I had no family up here. So I was really alone. I became a stepmom of 2 right away. And then I had back-to-back pregnancies. So I was really stuck in the house behind 4 walls. And with such an early diagnosis, early intervention started right away. So really, I'm not going anywhere because there's 3 therapists in my house 5 days a week. I'm just waiting for the next one to walk through the door. And on top of that, having pretty much a newborn, 2 newborns, But I had really, really dark days. I struggled physically. My childbirth with Bob was so traumatic. I actually had to learn how to walk again. I had severe, nerve damage in my feet. And it took a lot of healing to get back on track. And it was all during COVID that at the same time I was healing myself, that's when Bob's worst self came out. Yeah, and that's when self-interest behaviors and things started. So I don't know really how I navigated it. I just had no choice, but I knew that I had two kids that I needed to be there for. But they were very dark
Right.
days.
Yeah, I get it. Steve, I just think back to when you were a single dad and I was a single mom for a time too. And when you feel alone and you don't quite know what could go wrong, but you don't know what could go right either, it's like this really scary place. And you start to believe people who are complete strangers, like the doctor who said, your daughter will never walk, she will never talk, she'll probably need a feeding tube. I could have believed them, but something in me always felt like there was more inside of her that I had to keep fighting. And I feel that in you. I feel the fight in you. You see him, you see what's hard for him, and you know the challenges because you live them, but you also see his light, you see his potential. And I think that's really important for our audience to understand that you can see challenges and fight like hell to get the services that you need, but you can never lose sight of the fact of what everything that could unfold if those stars align, if things somehow ease in one place and things shift because kids grow and develop and they evolve. So, I mean, is there anything that stands out to you about that? Because that's a hard thing to teach somebody. I
For
think you
sure.
just embody it.
Yeah, no, I think that I've always been a spiritual person. And so, like, when the telepathy tapes, just for example, came out, um, I'm like, of course, that makes sense, you know. And I always believed because prior to even having my own family, I worked with special needs kids, and there was a boy that prepared me for my son, you know. So I did have that experience, and I know that we communicated without words. So I know that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, you know. So to always be able to go back to that light, to go to that lighter place, that spiritual place, that there is more to this existence than just the things that we're faced with, you know, our trials and tribulations. Um, that's what I think I'm always able to refocus on and have these different experiences just when Bob's sitting across in another room, but we can like see each other and how we know the next step, we know the next beat because there's just something greater. We don't need the words for it, you know? So knowing that and holding on to that, I think is kind of what gives me that hope, which is what brings me out of the dark times and just something more.
Jill,
Uh,
Jillian, we've talked quite a bit. You're aware my wife and I fostered a lot of kids and
Mhm.
had a lot of kids with autism. We're the house that we didn't say no. Not very many families take care of or want kids with autism in their home, let alone, foster care kids. And I look back at how many different examples of autism we had. And I know that you're in the profound part of the autism range. We have one of our kids upstairs that's profound, but we also have two other kids here that are autistic. They're not in that range, but have different characteristics and things also. And I think I understand there's a lot of things going on in social media. When you start talking autism, we talked previously about it, that some camps in the autism camp don't understand what you and I might go through with profound,
Right.
where the behaviors might be different, the issues might be different. In any age group, we've had 5-year-old nonverbals in our home. We've also had 17 and 18-year-olds with profound autism, and we also had every other kind of autism in between. Do you find when you're out there, because I know you're out there a lot right now with Bobby's World and
Mhm.
advocating for your son, do you find that there is the disconnect from profound autism to everybody else on the spectrum?
Absolutely. I do find that as I'm searching social media and I'm looking in the other groups and trying to really connect with the profound moms, because it seems like we're hidden somewhere. We're in a corner or we're not really connecting with the autism community. I myself found it being isolating and being just lonely because I wasn't finding that community. I was finding that here's this 3 and 5-year-olds celebrating potty training, and here's 11-year-olds, my son, and pull-ups still. Or here, their child goes out to eat and they're trying new foods. Well, mine can't even chew. So he's still on a pureed baby food diet. There's definitely people get stuck on the language. They get stuck on, well, what is profound? Why are we calling it profound? Isn't it just level 3? Isn't it, there's just so many different that I don't care what it's called. I don't care what you want to call it, but I can tell you that our needs are different. We're talking 24/7 vigilance. We're talking elopement, no safety, no awareness of safety or danger, sleepless nights, medical complexities, all the things, that are just fecal smearing, eating objects that they shouldn't, mouthing things, choking hazards, all the things. Yeah. So there's a avenue that needs to be profound, that needs to be severe. And I don't care what it's called, but there is something beyond level 3.
Right.
That's where we are.
It's like when I first started in the field, I kid you not, grad school, school psychology, we talked about autism one day out of my whole program. Like my sister had autism, but I didn't even know what it was called then. And then I started in the field and then it started exploding, right? Now there's programs and people are just trying to figure it out. Like we are figuring it out as it's happening. So like for families, I just remember giving advice that if I could go back now, I would say sorry. Like I was giving you the information that I knew in that moment. But I think as parents, we have to say we're sorry to ourselves too.
Absolutely. We need to find grace. Absolutely. We need to find grace with ourselves. And I think even as the generations go on, there's still things that are evolving. There's still things that are changing. Nothing is set in stone. You meet a person with autism, you meet a person with autism, even if it is profound autism. The same modalities aren't going to work in every profoundly autistic individual. So you still have to treat it as an individual. The same thing with all the medical complexities with it or behaviors that show up. It's like, well, why is it? Is it constipation? Is it, heavy metals? Is it, strep? Is it yeast overgrowth? And you have to try all the things because you don't know which one's going to stick. You don't know which one's going to work. So Bob was also diagnosed with PANDAS. We don't know the exact cause of it yet, but due to data tracking from ABA and me bringing it up on the radar 2 years ago to our neurologist, I had said, I think he has PANS just from certain things like he's sick, he severely regresses, he now has an influx of SIBs, tics, OCD, right? The neurologist was like, no way. We don't recognize it. We don't recognize this in this practice. I said, I really love you. I appreciate you, but I will agree to disagree with you. A year and a half later, I said, listen, I really think he has PANS. I really think that that's what this is. And he said, you know what? I think you're right. So something shifted even in a medical professional's viewpoint. That was like, and he was adamant. He's like, we don't even recognize that here. And then I found a pediatrician that recognizes it, brought Bob, brought my data, and he was like, yeah, he pretty much sounds textbook to it. He started him on a regimen of prednisone and antibiotics. Within 2 days of starting the prednisone, he was a different kid. And we're talking, he had self-injurious behavior, severe self-injurious behaviors for at least 8 months daily, hours long, easily 2 hours episodes. We're talking, my husband and I are laying on him, full body, and I'm not a tiny girl, with pillows around him just to keep him safe from himself because the amount of smashing his head, he had an open wound. You can pretty much see bone. Like,
right.
It was terrible. I couldn't every time
he was in pain.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I think I want everybody to stop and pause because this is like such an important thing for a mom or a dad to hear. If you're a teacher, listen to this. We are so trained to believe that a behavior is to get attention, to manipulate us. Sometimes it's all you can do is bang your head if it hurts or your stomach is aching. when my daughter started spelling and being able to tell us why she was doing some of the things she was doing, it didn't make complete sense, but at least we had context. Like she can't feel where her hands and feet are. So she's forever
Wow.
taking off her shoes and socks. Always shoes and socks are off. We could be in the car. She gets out, shoes and socks are probably out the window on the expressway. Due to like, we are always walking in snow with no shoes. And people look at me like they can't believe that I don't have this under control. But when she could start saying, I can't feel where my feet are, I
Wow.
can't walk, then I was like, that's medical though. Do you know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's apraxia. Maybe there's a treatment. And if parents don't keep pushing and saying something's wrong, this is not right. Like when she started having seizures, I had a neurologist tell me that just happens with autism. You have to lower your
Hmm.
expectations. I'm like, she should seize and stop breathing. I'm supposed to just accept that. So thank you, Mama, because you just probably inspired a few people to push back. If your pediatrician thinks that you're a bad mom because your kid doesn't sleep, they should also maybe take into account that there could be a medical reason your child's not sleeping. There could be a medical reason they're banging their head, and that's their job. But you know what?
Well, you know,
We have to
there's
be a
that.
doctor, a lawyer, a nurse,
We have
a
to be everything.
researcher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're everything. There's that phrase that behavior is communication. And then a while ago, it was reframed, and then I started saying behavior is information. So it's information that our nervous system needs regulation or that we're in pain, and how do we treat it? You know, we need to have that medical curiosity, because that's there's information. Something is going wrong. You don't just bash your head for no reason. You know, and they do want to easily dismiss it as, well, that's just autism. Well, no, it's not just autism. It's now PANS, you know, and now it's from something, whether it's strep or mold or myotoxins or whatever it may be. You know, I mean, there's so many things that it could be. And then, you know, then you're dealing with the fact that most of the time it's out of pocket to try to find a reason, you know, a cause. You know,
That's the most frustrating part when they're like, that's experimental. And I'm really,
Yes.
because thousands of people have benefited from A, B, or C. Why can't we try it? It makes me crazy. And then in New York State, we have self-direction, which is beautiful, but they'll say the same thing. Like if you find something that really works for your child, they'll say you can't use your money on that because it's experimental or it's not mainstream, it's not traditional, there's no vendor. And you think, why are they making it so hard? Steve, when your son was having such a hard time interacting with other people, you did something different. You went to the doctors, you did that part, you talked to the school, but I'm thinking of what you built. I know some of our audience knows, but not everybody. I mean, I think parents have to hear that sometimes you can do something outside of the medical stuff and school system. You can just do something.
Yeah, I had to give him a why, so to speak, and not just for him, for myself too, because like Jillian, my son had nowhere to go back then. He's a much different kid now as got older, but back then it was really hard to take him out in public in social situations. It was just unbearable. And I asked my wife if I could build like a 10 by 12 shed for him on our property, and I wound up building this 2-story autism barn by bribing her basically to make it bigger, so that it was just not him, but also his friends who happen to be autistic, and some of them profound and have other disabilities. And then the community started using it, so it worked. That we put things in there that worked for him. I'm sure you put things in your house, Jillian, that work for you to help stabilize and help maintain and help give him somewhat of a quality of life. And that's basically what we did. I put stuff in there that he enjoyed. And there's a big Xbox on the wall. And I tell Heather this all the time. It's the least used thing out there. That's from any kid that we have come over here. They use all the old other stuff, you know, the musical instruments and the sensory things, and the curiosity of some of this old stuff that we have, like 8 tracks and before both of your time.
I had this one family I worked with, and the little boy kept escaping. He was eloping, and it was dangerous. And we could not get the government agencies to pay for a fence. They couldn't afford the fence to protect him. You couldn't even put an extra lock on the bedroom door at that point. That was considered, abusive in some way, when you're really just, you had to sleep sometimes and you have to know they're not going to get out. So the dad did something similar. He built something outside that he knew would be so attractive and amazing that if his son did get outside, he would go to that.
That's
He's like,
genius.
we will know where to find him. All his favorite things were in there. So I'm like, sometimes you just have to think outside of the box. Like instead of yelling at all the people who are supposed to provide us things, like, why won't you give me the fence? Or why can't you put this alarm system on? What could I do? Like what is it within my power to fix? So that's a great story. I just
That
I'll
is
have to tell that story
fantastic.
forever.
No, that's the whole initiative. It's how can we build the things to make them come really, like Steve did. And, you're setting an example. And I think that's genius. It's so many parents are scared of their children eloping and going down the road, but no, build something in your yard that would at least deter them from going into the street or going into the woods or down to the water. Build something in your yard that's going to attract them. And that's genius.
Yeah, the kids at our house don't elope.
I'm sure they do. They go right to the barn.
They might the
Bring
first day,
people back with them.
and then I show them in there, and they don't elope ever again.
That's it.
Yeah. And we hinted at this when we were prepping for the show, that sometimes there are stretches of time when you have a child that's complex and their support needs are high, that you feel really trapped. There are spans of time where I'm like, I do not remember the last time I turned my car on, that I even went to go get the mail. There are periods of time, stretches of time that I feel isolated, even though I'm on Zooms all day, I'm doing work. Like there's other people who live here. It's just, it can feel so lonely. Do you have any advice for the parents in that situation where they feel homebound? Because Steve's son might be able to go out in public now and actually enjoy the experience, but I'm still teetering on that edge with my daughter. Sometimes I'm like, wow, that was freaking awesome. Like we went to Victoria's Secret and she loved it. We took a picture. We didn't nothing happened. And then the next time it falls apart and we keep trying. But for those stretches where I'm like, I can't leave right now, I know it won't end well or it won't be positive. I mean, what's your advice for those situations? Because I'm sure you've been there.
We are stuck in the house a lot, more than I would like to be, mostly because of his OCD. Like, for example, today he sat for 12 hours in the same chair and didn't get up. We tried to get him up and it was full on fight. He didn't want to, and he will stay that way as long as he would like. But I think what's really important is using social media to find your village of people. That's one of the great things, but you also can't allow it to consume you, where then it's taking you away from not just yourself, but your child. I would definitely find social media outlets, find your village and the groups that you actually belong in, not the ones that, find the profound autism group, not just a generalized autism group. Because I had the experience of going into the autism rooms and feeling more isolated, feeling more hurt, feeling like a failure of a parent, that I don't do enough and I'm not enough, and Bob should be a lot further than he is, and I'm judging myself and I'm judging my kid and I'm judging our whole circumstance. It's really finding the place where we belong, which is important too. And then I do something that's called moments between the madness, which is making sure that I have disconnected from everything else outside of me and I'm doing something mindful for myself. And it's not just taking a shower, going to a spa, like doing that kind of stuff. It's really settling my own nervous system. That's what the main objective is to center yourself and ground yourself. So that way, when you are ready to be with your family, and it could be 1 minute, it can be an hour if you're that lucky to have that time. But that way, the energy that you are putting into your family is one that is not reactive, and you're able to respond better and engage, but also energetically. If I'm all hyper and I'm frustrated and I'm worried and I'm full of all this fear, I'm not doing enough, I'm not being enough, and or even just thinking my son should be further, having those thoughts in my head, it's inside of your body, it's inside your nervous system. So if I'm not regulating that, if I'm not grounding that, my son's going to feel that. Then we're feeding off of each other's nervous system, and neither of us are grounded, and then we're just battling each other energetically. And, that's why it's important to find those moments in between the madness. And it's important to find the groups that you belong in, not just the other spaces, I don't know.
That's yeah, that's a beautiful concept right there. When my daughter got her service dog, it was this big, huge, fluffy thing, and I grew up with a Shih Tzu, so I was like, I don't know why I just introduced this huge animal into my house, but the trainer said to me, "You will be calm, cool, and confident. You will be in charge, or the dog will take over." And I just remember thinking, okay, like I was so chaos was just my life at that moment, but I had to be spot on with that dog and I had to exude that confidence. And you know what? That dog helped me just as much as it helped Devin. I tell that story all the time, but it's so true. I had to rise to the occasion, and our kids put us in those situations. I have done things I never dreamed I would do. I never dreamed I would speak at a board meeting or, be on TV talking about things. And look at you. Tell everybody a little bit about your platform, because it started out with like a couple hundred people were checking in and watching your story, and I have watched it blow up over the
literally
last few months.
over a snowstorm. It it went from like 700 people to like 15,000, and I was like, I don't know what happened, but this video just got 6 million views. Like, what happened here? It literally started, and I just remember it was after a special needs Mother's Day luncheon that a local woman and her daughter put on every year. And I was inspired to start a platform because they gave us a journal, and I used to write all the time, and I've had writer's block for years, So I came home and I started doodling in the journal, and then boom, I was like, you know what, I'm going to start Bobby's World, and we'll see where that goes. And I just wanted to share our story. I just wanted to say, hey, this is what our severe autism looks like, you know. And then I got back into my writing, and it just opened up. And then, but then it's also like people don't like to read anymore. We've become a society that just like this doom scroll, and we have to see things fast. So we need to see videos. So now I'm learning how to make little reels and do these things. So I'm learning now, because I feel like I kind of missed that a bit. But my advocacy platform is not only to share our story and what profound autism is, it's to connect with people all over that have systems in place. They saw that there's a problem and they came up with a solution. And because we can sit here, we can advocate, and we can, march all day long, and we can go to board meetings, and we can sit in the same groups and sit in circles and do all the things. But where's the action? I like to come up with a solution. So, well, I know that people are ahead of me, and I know that there's more people to come up the line. So let's find the things that work. Let's come up with, I would really like to create little micro communities that are for the special needs community, and develop, whether it's taking something like the housing and the rec center that Steve's doing, and have businesses on a main street, a flower shop that's run by a Down syndrome girl, and, some autistic individuals, where we can support each other, but be a environment that's welcoming to the profound community. Now, listen, who's to say that my son won't be able to do those things? Right now, he's in a space that he could go into a store, and maybe there's a little hammock there that he can sit on, and just be a welcoming community for him and other individuals. But at the same time, having independent special needs individuals that are running and operating and supportive and have housing and all the things. I mean, that's my dream. But it's finding all the things that already work, that are in motion, and going to different states and saying, all right, this is how this works. Let's see how we can make this work here. Okay, this person from this place has, something that's working. That's great. How are you doing this? How did you get started? Let's talk to this team, let's figure it out for you and get it, that's kind of the domino effect.
Once people see it, right, Steve? That's Steve's whole thing. If you
Right.
show it to them, they'll want the blueprint.
Exactly.
Yeah, we Jillian, off of that, when Heather and I started this, we wanted to be able to inspire and empower. When I talk to Heather, it's every conversation I think we have, I bring it up about that part of it, because someday when I'm not around, I want to know that you guys can pick up the advocacy and move the needle. And if it's outside the box, and you hit it right on the head, because unfortunately out there in the advocacy world, too many people are dwelling on the same old stuff that they've been dwelling on in the same type of advocacy for the last 30, 40 years. And I, in my own opinion, and I've proved it with some of the projects I've worked on with Heather, and we just find a different way to do it and we get it done. And we hope that along the way, some of these projects can inspire people like you, and inspire other moms and dads. And I look especially to the single moms out there. I was a single dad. I think the single moms have it even harder out there with a lot of this stuff, because everything is on them, especially they have to work and they're not getting any support. So if we can provide little things, like you said, that matter, truly matter, and are going to make somebody's quality of life better, I'd rather spend my time doing that, and I'm sure Heather would too. And it sure looks like you're doing that now too.
Well, thank you. Nothing makes me sadder than when I'm at the mall on a Saturday and I see the groups. They're all kids. It doesn't matter how old they are. They're all my kids, and I see them walking around with their caregiver, quote unquote, on their cell phone, not engaging with the individual. They're sitting at the what do they call it? Like the cafeteria area, whatever it's called, the food court, and maybe they're walking around, but nobody's engaging. No one's playing. They want to be engaged with. And, it's sad, because then you're talking a whole other level of, the caregivers and the providers out there, and the pay is definitely not enough. That's a whole other battle, that it's not enticing people to want to be involved. But I don't want that for my son. I don't want that for him. I want him to have a life that is fulfilling. And even if it is driving around 4 hours a day, he enjoys it, but how do I put that system in place for him? I know that if I'm not here, or my husband's not here and he's somewhere else, he's going to want his car rides.
Yes.
Who's going to give it to him? He's going to beg for it. He's going to hurt himself if he doesn't get it.
And he can't say it, right? Or
Right.
can he? How does he let you know he needs it? Do you just know?
We just know because of his routine. I have lots of layered systems in place to give him language. And I use a PEC store. I have little recordable buttons. I have a book of, a book of PECs. He does have an AAC device, but he will not use that at home. He associates it with being at school, and he's like, absolutely no way. I want no part of it. So I try to give him language where I can. But we know just from his habits, normally his OCD was as soon as he woke up in the morning, like you couldn't get dressed fast enough for him to want to go for a car ride. Because then you had that boom, boom,
Totally
boom,
get it.
head through the wall. Yeah, you had to head through the wall before I can even put my shoes on, before I can even wipe my eyes. He needed it. Now he's grown or shifted that's not a necessity. But you're talking, even if he woke up at 2:00 in the morning, we were out for a car ride, even if it was a blizzard.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I was
there was
just
no
gonna say,
excuse.
it doesn't matter if it's snowing. It does not matter if it's snowing. It doesn't matter if there's construction. It doesn't
Right.
matter. And I
No.
used to have to find DSPs, caregivers, staff members for her team, for Devin, that could drive and have a car. And when we talk about the workforce crisis and the shortage, I'm like, I don't know. Like they'll pull up for the interview, and I'm like, their car's falling apart. I don't know if they could drive her where she needs to go, because we are in the car a lot. But I do have to say, at 19, we're not doing the car rides.
Right.
I don't know what happened. She's getting that input a different way. She's moved past. We could go back to it. I'm not silly. I don't think that we can't do that again. But for right now, we are not in the car constantly. So when I started getting trapped in the car, I was calling it. I mean, we were using so much gas. I started listening to podcasts and audiobooks.
Yep.
Devin got so into the audiobooks. Like people are like, she really is she really listening? Yeah, she is seriously listening. So that's another piece of advice I have for families, regardless of what the presentation is on the outside. We have to believe that on the inside, they're processing this, they're experiencing life, and we want to enrich them. One thing that a lot of older adults have said that it have found a communication mode that works for them. I was always in there. And this one boy, what young man that we interviewed, he said, I just got so sick of learning my colors and my shapes,
Yes.
my letters and my numbers. No wonder they're acting out at school. No wonder schools are saying we don't know what to do with them. I mean, more and more people are keeping their kids home and doing the homeschooling and building things. So it's just an idea for parents to have in their mind. And I don't know what Bob's day looks like. We have a few minutes left. Is there anything that if you want to describe, like how you keep them busy, or just something that you think the audience should know?
Oh, let's see. It kind of made me have a thought about school. And I think I had two thoughts. One is that Bob he loves Mickey Mouse, and he listens to it in all different languages. And before Bluetooth was even a thing, before you can connect your phone to your TV, he would find a Mickey Mouse episode that I had on the TV. He would find that same episode in French, Cantonese, in all these different languages on his device. I'm like, how are you doing that? How? I have no idea. I still don't know how he did that. So I absolutely believe that he can speak. He understands multiple languages. He just can't speak it. Yeah.
I'm sure he does. Devin
Right.
spells in different languages now. Same thing. Curious George, Jorge Curioso is always on at my house. She has it synced with the English version and the German version. She has 2 iPads, the TV's on. It's crazy, but she needs it to enrich her brain, to give herself stimulation, because if you cannot participate in the conversation,
Right.
you will lose your mind. You have to find ways to keep your mind busy. So
I hate when they send me home his tracing work and these preschool type things where he's supposed to be a 5th grader. His mind is there. You know what I mean? He just can't speak. He just,
Right.
and he has other complexities, but when he's regulated, he's still an 11-year-old boy that
Right.
that wants to do things, that wants to learn, that wants to be enriched, and wants to engage with people. And that's why we just need to do more for them.
Yeah.
Make more things.
Jillian, I wanted to add on to your story about Bob with the cartoons and the language. Heather's heard this before. I'm not sure if you have. Our profound autistic teen upstairs literally loves SpongeBob and Home Alone. And he will go around and change everybody's TV into a different language
Stop it.
to watch it in all kinds of languages. And the other kids come running down looking for me. Michael, look what he did. Change it back,
funny.
Michael. Change it back. But it's similar to Bob. That's what he wants to watch.
Right.
Mhm.
Every language, and he'll start talking in that, say the words, and we actually cultivate that now. We use it in the very beginning, kind of turn that back. I tell the kids, let him do it, because he loves it. He absolutely loves doing that. And you know what? If that's his quality of life, Jillian, I'm taking it.
That's right. I agree with you 100%. Well, it's funny because I was in the car with Bob and I'm so used to him, playing, Mickey Mouse in other languages. And on some episode, Minnie is singing something in French. And I only knew the song because I've heard it 1,000 times, probably more than that. And so I sang it ahead of time. And when I tell you the side eye I got from him, he's like, whoa, you speak French? It was like, he was like, tell me you speak. I was like, no, I'm just kidding. I just know it from listening to it, Bob. Like,
Yeah.
do not
So
expect French
great.
out of your mom.
I know. Sorry. I could do a lot of things. No,
Right. I can do a lot
probably
of
not
things.
it.
French is not happening.
We have covered a lot of different things today. I think that this is a great episode for people just to like get to know you a little bit and know some of the things that are working for you right now. What I want to do is take a little break and then you come back another day and tell us where life is then. Because I think families need to see that things don't stay the same way forever, even if it feels like it's the same thing every day. If you look at today and then you look 5 years from now, I have a feeling life is going to be different. There are going to be things you could have never imagined. Devin being able to communicate on a letterboard, I didn't even want to believe it could be true because I had tried so many things. We had the devices and we had all of those things. And I just remember being tortured about it. Like I was reading the underestimated book and I kept putting it down. Like I could read a paragraph and I would be so emotional. And then I told myself, if I have this much emotion, I have to try it.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes we take that as like we should stop something, but I tell people like if it triggers something in you, you have to explore why. You can't just make assumptions. You can't listen to those experts that say all the things our kids can't do, and you have to listen to your heart and take chances. And I can't wait to see what Bob does next. I mean, like, you know, like I can't wait to see what's on the next order. So
No, I'm excited too. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the space to come here and chat with you both and share our story a little bit. And I look forward to what the next few years bring for us as well.
Great. Thank you. Until next time.
Continue the conversation by joining our Facebook group. If you're a fan of the show, please join our supporters club. Subscribe on YouTube, rate and review on your favorite listening app, but most of all, share it with your friends. Just one more click or comment can make a huge difference and help us to continue finding common ground.